Let's come into Malasana, deep yogi squat, or sometimes called garland pose. So here you can see that I'm in the position immediately. First of all, we said we are ground from the earth upwards. We have the toes turned outwardly, not facing forwards. That is just a little kinder and makes better space into the hips. And then importantly, the knees are sat outside the big toes. That will naturally happen if we bring that strength and development to the toes, gripping the mat and lifting the inner arches of the feet. Now let's pause here with the ankles or the heels being flat on the ground, because for many people, this is how they're going to practice Malasana. So they're going to be here. Now that gives us two things. One, when you lift up onto the balls of the feet, it's actually a more difficult posture for balance, but easier for flexibility. The lack of flexibility in the ankle joint usually caused from a tightness of the calf muscles and a weakness of the fleshy part of the shin, the tibialis, so that the heel can't remain on the ground and the knee travels forwards. Now, as a side note, like with all the posture of yoga, there's no necessity to have the ideal flexibility for all postures. However, there are a couple of postures that are linked to those fundamental human movements, and ones that I would encourage students to improve at, to get more development, more strength, more flexibility, more awareness in those positions. And there's very few of those postures, but this is one of them. So again, it's not a necessity to sit with your heels on the ground, but I think this is a posture that you should look to improve. And that's because our ankle flexibility, stability and strength is linked by health experts to the longevity of life, specifically as we age. As young children, if you're to watch young children, I know with my children when they were very young, toddlers, and maybe just developing kind of walking skills, they often sit like this. So they sit in this position all the time. So it's a natural, fundamental human movement pattern. And in fact, before the invention of the toilet, the porcelain toilet, where we now sit like this was how most of us would have gone to the toilet. And again, health experts say that that is actually better for our colon and our anatomy. Sitting in that position is very natural for us. However, because of lifestyles and different choices in life, and maybe a lack of mobility and strength in the ankle joint, or if you're someone who has been very partial to a heel for any number of years in your life, it's likely you've got a bit of lack of flexibility in that ankle region. So in that case, yes, we can come up onto the heels. We can take or onto the balls of the feet, we can lift the heels. We can take our heels so they feel supported by a brick. So there's a little more balance there. Or what we could do, that's what I encourage lots of students to do, is come higher. It's going to mean it's more physical. Being down here, once you have that range of flexibility, it's actually quite easy. The journey to get there in the first place can be quite difficult. Once you're there, you actually feel quite relaxed. There's not too much active engagement of the muscles. Where if I come up to here, visibly might not look as deep or as worthy, but actually it's a much more difficult posture. Coming higher, much more difficult. Let's tune into the back. What you also find is a rounding of the spine in both postures. And that is usually caused from a tightness of the hamstrings, and it's pulling the pelvis underneath. So as best we can, what we're looking to do is draw the shoulder blades together and erect the spine, tuck the chin in. There will be a rounding of the lower spine. That's absolutely fine and normal, but we don't want an excessive rounding of the upper spine. Shoulders collapsed, shoulders here. And then variations of the hands, we can come into Anjali Mudra. If we take our arms to the inside of the knees, the support of pressing our elbows out will create a little more space and stretch, and you will find that helps you elevate the spine and tuck the chin in. To make it more physical, we have the hands out front. More physical still, hands overhead. Now in each of these postures, there are tools and techniques that we can use to enhance that ankle flexibility. And that is something that I have included in this training course because I think it is so important and so fundamental. Again, don't get caught up on where you are now and that you need to improve and that it's not good enough. Well, that's not what we fall into. Now, because I see such value in this posture, I've included an ankle strength and mobility practice that is going to help you develop and improve your Malasana pose. And remember, we don't get into chasing postures, not as such, but it is good to develop our physical practice. And if I can help you get closer and closer to being comfortable in this position, where your ankles are more flexible and stronger, knee can quite comfortably go towards the toes, I think it's going to help you.